Good morning or afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this. Thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you on with me. Let me know that you're here. Say hello. I like to know who watches, and I love the interactions. So, give back to me what I give to you by just giving me some interaction. I do like to interact with you guys. I hope everybody is planning on having a fantastic week. If you're watching this, in the future, it is January. We are in the new year. I've kind of been on pause a little bit. And hello, Ashley. How are you? Thank you for joining. And let me just introduce myself in case it is your first time. My name is Evelyn Knight. I am a childcare business owner like you guys, or I've been a director, I've been a teacher, I've done it all. So I am in the industry, in the trenches. So many coaches out there don't have the experience, or their experience is years old. I'm a current owner, so not only am I a childcare business coach where I help other owners learn how to run a successful center and just help manage it. I have clients that have been owners for 20 years that work with me, but so I really help with clients, but I'm in the trenches with you guys. And that is what makes me different. I own a childcare center. I've owned several in my career. I've built from the ground up. I have taken over centers. I've reopened closed centers. I have had to fight for my centers. I've had legal battles to go through. I bought one center that was actually, I was leasing the building and buying the business. And we had no idea that the building was going into foreclosure. Literally 3 months after we bought it, the building went into foreclosure. So I've been through a lot in my career as a childcare owner. So that is why I started Childcare Business Professionals, which is my other business where I help owners and directors learn how to run successful centers. I also am the host of the Childcare Business Coach podcast, and which I'll be recording a couple more episodes for today. Today on my calendar, I do have scheduled recording for the podcast. So if you haven't checked out the podcast, be sure to check that out. My lives on Facebook here, I really focus on mental health. My degree is in neurological psychology. As I do also have early childhood education degrees. I have a few degrees, but so mental health is near and dear to my heart. I'm also a certified life coach. I've done everything. I do a lot. So I've kind of taken that life coach psychology and mixed it with the childcare industry, and that's what I bring to you here Monday mornings. It's just really trying to help you with your mindset and being able to make it through, because I know this is a really hard business, and a lot of times we can feel like an island. It can feel so lonely to be a childcare owner. It can start to feel incredibly lonely. So that is just something I really want to help you guys with, because I know I was there. I've felt that loneliness. I have felt the overwhelm. I have felt like nothing is going to work. Like I should have never gotten into this business. I've had those feelings of absolute failure, right? But I've also learned to pick myself back up and to keep going. And so that is part of the topic I'm going to be talking about today. Well, it is absolutely. The title for today's topic is, Are You Depleted? Do you feel depleted? And I'll tell you guys, my new year is just starting because my family has been through a whirlwind. My husband, for those of you who've been following me, you know that he has end-stage kidney disease. He has been on dialysis now for a couple of years almost. It's not quite 2 years, but we're heading in that direction. And he has renal failure. It's been very, very hard. Last year, same time of year, he had a total of 3 strokes in 2 months, which just changed our lives forever. Well, he just got out of the hospital again. He has been on peritoneal dialysis and it stopped working. So we've just transitioned to hemodialysis. It's just been a crazy January's already been crazy for me. So my new year is just starting. I feel like today is the start of my January. So I'm a little behind you guys this year. Definitely running a little bit behind since everything had to be on hold while my husband was in the hospital. So that is really what motivated me to talk today about being depleted. are you depleted? Do you just feel absolutely depleted? Is just one more thing just making you feel exhausted? And people always comment to me like, how can you be so positive? You run 2 companies, you know, your husband is sick, you're his full-time caregiver, which, by the way, I am getting help for now. I've gotten to the point where I can't. I can't run 2 companies and be his full-time caregiver anymore. So I have gotten to that point where it's like, okay, I need help. And I have a wonderful staff at my childcare center. They are amazing. The entire time I went through this, I only went in once to sign paychecks, and that was on the weekend. So my center is amazing and awesome. And we've gotten to that point where they don't really need me anymore. They like having me there, but they don't need me. And I know they're gonna watch this and they like it, but they're fine. I know, and I have the confidence, all the confidence in the world with my management team that they carry my center and it's 5-star quality and it's profitability, and I know it's okay. And the reason is because I've duplicated myself and what I've learned into them, right? I've taught my director, Brandy, everything I know, and I've duplicated me into her, and now she's duplicating herself into her assistant director, Alana, and Alana will be my next director. So it's just this system, right? But in order to create that system, it took a lot of work, and I basically had to put everything, automated everything, which is what I which is what I train my clients to do the same thing. Try to automate yourself so that you're not going crazy and you're not depleted, right? So when disasters do happen in your life, like what's happened in my life with my husband, you can step away and your business will not fall apart. It wasn't always that way for me. In 2012, when I got diagnosed with a neurological disease, and before they knew what was wrong with me and treated me, everything did fall apart for me. And everything was so reliant on me that it couldn't keep going without me. And it fell apart. And so I basically sought out to learn, what do I need to do for this to never happen again? And I've built this structure now that if I did need to disappear for a few months, my center would be fine. I could actually probably relocate and it would be fine. But I love it and I don't want to do that. I love being there, but I just know I don't need to. And I was able to actually just really just duplicate what I've done so that I'll never be in that position again. And I know my business will be okay without me. I'm working on it with this business too. Right now, this business is very reliant on me, but I have a great support network that just steps in and helps me when I need it, which is what we all need, right? Otherwise, we do feel exhausted and depleted. So the first thing I want to ask you, and what I really want to focus today, is do you feel like you have to rescue everybody that comes your way? Are you a rescuer, right? Do you have like just that need when you see that person in need, you have to jump up and help and solve their problems? And this is something I've really been looking into and really studying about myself. And I realized, like, yes, I do. I have to just fix it all. Instead of letting them fall, I always feel like, especially with my own children, right? I have to jump in and save them from everything. But with my business and with like my director, I've realized a while back that I do need to let her fall. And I do need to because if I don't, she'll never learn how to get back up on her own. There used to be a time where she wouldn't make any decisions without coming to me. And everything had to go through me. And it was exhausting me. And that's when I realized I'm going to have to just let her do it. I'm going to have to let her make the decisions, let her make the mistakes, let her go through the pain every now and then of those small failures if she's ever going to be able to do this without me, right? I have to trust her to make those decisions, because bottom line was that I wasn't trusting her and I wanted so much control, because I am a control freak. I will admit it every day. I'm a control freak, and I wanted so much of the control that I really wasn't allowing her to spread her wings and do her own thing. I wasn't allowing her to grow and be the person she needed to be, because I would always come in and solve the problems. I would see a problem and I would jump in. Whether she asked me or not, I would just like, oh, here's what we need to do. And one of the other things I did a lot was when she'd go on vacation, I would go and undo a lot of the things she did and just make changes all over the place. So now instead I take notes and I leave her notes and I'm like, okay, here, this is this. And now don't get me wrong, if there's a problem, a specific problem that comes up when she's on vacation, I will deal with it. I will take care of it, but not something that is going to change permanently, like how the center is ran, maybe a new policy, a new procedure. Now, if there is a new procedure policy that comes in, I'll work with her on it, right? We will brainstorm together, but I'm no longer just jumping in, taking over, coming up with all the solutions without any input. So that's one of the things I would really just ask you. Do you really feel responsible for everybody's job? Do you look at your lead teachers? Do you look at your director? Do you look at your children, your husband, your everybody, and just feel responsible for all the outcomes, right? For everything. When your child loses their shoes in the morning, do you have to find them, or do you enable them to find them themselves, right? If you are the one who's always solving these problems and you feel like this, and it does, like I know for me, it feels like a desperate responsibility. Like I absolutely have to be the one to fix this or they're going to crash and burn, right? And even with the smallest things, I feel that way. My son loses his keys. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got to have his keys. Otherwise he doesn't have his cars. But honestly, am I helping him by jumping in and finding his keys? Or am I doing him more of a service by letting him fall, right? Okay, now he is late to school, but that's his problem. He needs to learn, right? And my initial reaction is always to jump in and save him. Call the school, give him an excuse for not showing up on time so he doesn't have an unexcused late, right? But what am I teaching him by doing that? So now let's put that in context of your staff. When you know that somebody isn't going to turn in their curriculum on time or their shopping list, what are you teaching them by doing the constant reminders, the constant micromanaging? And then at the end of the day, you're asking yourself, like, why can't they get it together? Why don't they ever do this? Why don't they ever do that? It's because you're jumping in and saving them every time they don't need to. If you jump in and save them every single time, and if you're always solving their problems for them, they don't need to change, right? You're creating the environment that is depleting you by always jumping in and saving your staff. You've got to let them fall. And I know it's hard. I'll tell you, not last year, but the year before, I let my director do our annual inspection for the first time by herself. And I am horribly anal about wanting everything to be perfect. Like I want to get that inspection done, and I don't want so much as an outlet cover missing, right? Nothing. I want a perfect inspection every single time. So when I left her in charge of this, I would look and I just knew. I was just like, oh my, this is not going to be a fun inspection. We're going to need a lot. But I had to let it go. I knew the report was going to be long, and it killed me because and on top of that, we had a brand new licensing agent. We had gone from the same person for 15 years to a brand new person. So her first initial assessment of us, I knew full well that we were going to have a lot of corrections that needed to be made. And I kind of felt bad because our old assessor had told her, oh, they're always perfect. They're a piece of cake, no problem. And here I knew like we were going to go into this annual assessment knowing full well it wasn't going to be as it wasn't bad. I make it sound like it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't perfect like ours usually is. And my director is used to having a perfect one because I've always just made sure all our ducks in a row, everything just lines up, everything is, and so they're usually pretty just done, pretty easy, pretty good. But this time there was so much, and she was completely overwhelmed. She was completely just, it was hard. And she did feel like she had fallen down, right? And I knew that was going to happen, but I had to let it happen because if I stepped in and I corrected the things I knew that were coming, if I stepped in and did it for her, I would have to step in every year for the rest of our career together, right? If I didn't let that happen, if I didn't let her fall down, I didn't let her experience that disappointment, the overwhelm of all the corrections that had to be made, this last year's wouldn't have been perfect, which it has been. That was the only time she's ever had one that wasn't pretty much perfect. And our semi-annuals, everything, they are a piece of cake now for her, right back to the way they always have been. And that's because we had to let her experience that one struggle. I know how hard that is for you guys because it is a reflection of our business, right? And it is very difficult for us as owners, especially, and even if you're a director and you've got to let your lead teachers fall down sometimes too, right? And so it's very difficult for us because we see that as a reflection of ourselves. When they fall down, we see that as a reflection of ourselves. So we feel like we have to go in and fix everything ourselves. We have to go in and make it perfect all the time, right? But then you're overwhelming yourself because now you're in every classroom all the time. You're trying to fix everything. You're constantly, all of that is on your shoulders. So yes, sometimes it's going to be hard to let them fall because that means that something's not going to go right in your center. But if you really want your employees to get to the next level where they aren't coming to you for every little thing, you've got to stop answering all their questions. You've got to stop fixing everything. You've got to stop putting out their fires. You have to let them crash and burn. And I know that's hard, you guys. I know how hard it is. But you will never learn how to stand up if you don't learn how to fall down. The other thing too is they will just automatically ask you for everything. You're not going to teach them how to solve their own problems. So what I would challenge you is to ask yourself, to really look at where you're rescuing your staff. Are you constantly rescuing your staff? Look at it in your personal life too. Who are you constantly rescuing? Are you constantly rescuing your friends, your family? It is a pattern of behavior that some of us have, and most of us do. And we just, especially as A-type personalities, whenever you're a leader, you're more than likely an A-type personality if you're a director or an owner. So when you're jumping in to rescue all these people all the time, and it's not just our businesses, right? It's not just our centers. It's personal too. Just start really looking around. Are they asking you for the rescuing, or are you just noticing things and jumping in and trying to fix everybody's problems, right? And when they do ask you, how are you responding? That is a very, very important component to this. If you want to break this cycle of being the person who's always rescuing, if you want to just really break that cycle in your life and stop depleting yourself, you really need to ask yourself a few of the questions like, why am I doing this? What am I afraid is going to happen if I don't do it? What are really the lasting outcomes, right? And I'll tell you, sometimes we do need to. Like for my center, we are coming up on our quality rating. Okay. In this case, we've got to rescue them because we're going to be stuck with a star rating for the next 2 years. And if you know anything about me, my center has to be at least a 4-star center. 5 stars ideal, but you have to be NACE accredited, which we're in the process right now of doing. But we qualify for a 5-star, and that's, to me, the standard that I hold for my staff and my center. It has to be 5 stars, right? Quality-wise, it has to be 5 stars. We have to be awarded at least a 4-star. Technicalities make that difficult, but I'm sure you guys are all aware of that. So in this case, this is an issue where, okay, when the actual rating comes, this isn't the time to let them crash and burn on their own, right? Now, we request several different mock assessments throughout the year. When a mock assessment comes through, then it's okay. Let them crash, right? Because that's not the real thing. If you do observations, let them crash and then show them and coach them through what they need. But when you're coaching them, make sure you're helping them come up with the solutions to their problems. So I've actually created a couple questions that you can ask to help your staff and just to guide them in solving their own problems and helping you release that habit of trying to rescue everybody. And so one of the things that you can do is the first thing, when somebody comes to you with a problem, ask them. First thing you want to do is, how do you think we should solve this problem, right? Put the problem back on them. A lot of times people are afraid to come up with solutions because they're afraid of your reaction. They're afraid of the boss's reaction. They're afraid that it's not going to be good enough. I'm also going to qualify that by telling you guys that you do have to release the outcome. Okay, release the process. As long as the outcome is one that is positive for your center, then you need to release the process. It may not be exactly how you would have done it, but if it works, let it go. That was one of the biggest and hardest things for me as an owner, allowing my director to take over. I always thought that things had to be done my way. If this is how I did it, this is how it had to be done. So I was always barking orders and directions, and I really wasn't empowering anybody to make their own decisions because of how I wanted to control everything, every process, right? And it wasn't until I really released that and I just realized it's not about the process, it's about the product in this situation. As long as the end result is the same, the procedure can vary, right? If my director wants to come up with a new procedure for something that works better, that's fine. I had to let that go. It's so hard for me because I just want control so bad, right? So just think of it that way. Is the end procedure, as long as the end result, let them come up with a solution. You're going to have a solution in your mind, and that's okay. But you need to release that and try theirs. Let them fly. You would be amazed at the amazing ideas. And for me, to be honest, when I really started listening to my staff and looking at their ideas and things didn't have to be my way, there's so many areas that they are better than me. We cannot be the best at everything. And I've said it before, but like my director, Brandy, is the most amazing coach in the classroom. The way she observes and coaches the rooms is way better than I ever did. Way better. I'm a great trainer, but when it came to coaching the teachers in the classroom, I didn't do a great job at that. But she's so much better than me. And so I've pretty much let her establish her own procedure and her own way to do observations and coaching within her classrooms, right? And she manages to observe and coach every single teacher every month, right? And because she's so good at it. Had I not let her do that on her own, had I always tried to micromanage and come up with every solution to every problem, that would have never happened in my center. So that's an example of like, sometimes you think it needs to be done this way and you let them come up with the solutions and suddenly it's better. It's better than what you would have ever come up with, right? But we'll never know. We can't be everything. We can't always be the best of everything. And when you take your staff and really let them fly, you're getting this group think that is amazing. And we underestimate our staffs so much. I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. A lot of you are thinking, oh, but you don't know my staff. They're just not. Like, I was that owner. I'll tell you, 5 years ago, I was you with that thought process. That, oh no, not my staff. They're just not, no, they just, and I still have plenty of the same women working and coming up with the solutions that are better than the ones I came up with. So a lot of times we just need to let it go. I hope you guys are, if this is resonating with you, let me know. Give me a comment. Hi, Melody. I see you just popped on. It's good to see you. You need to schedule your coaching call with me for the month. Melody is one of my members, so I need to get with you so we can just catch up and get your coaching done. So the other thing is, if they just kind of look at you, when you ask them the question, how do you think this should be handled? If they look at you like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Because at first it's going to be a shock to them, right? They're going to be so used to you solving everybody's problems that it's going to be shocking for them. So what you need to do next is really just go and ask them, well, why don't you think about it, right? Maybe, and give them a time limit. If it's a small issue, give them an hour or two. Why don't you think about it for an hour or until after at lunchtime? At nap, we'll come back together and we'll talk about what solutions you came up with, right? And give them some time. If it's a big problem, they might need a day, right? And then come back to them when you say you will and ask them what the solution to their problem is. But you really want it to come from them. At that time, if they still are like, I just don't know, I've got nothing, I just don't know, because they're so like intimidated by this process, which will happen to some of your staff. It will. You putting it back on them will become so overwhelming to them that they are just going to be like, I don't know. And I can guarantee you guys, they do have ideas. They'll just have so much fear in coming to you with those ideas that they're not going to be able to verbalize them, right? So at that point, what you're going to do when you come back to them, and if they still don't, then you're going to just say, okay, let's brainstorm together. Let's come up with some ideas together. And start like, what do you think would happen if we try this? And then get that reciprocal, right? You want to get that conversation. You don't want to just say, let's do this. You want to say, what do you think would happen if we try it this way, right? And then let's watch and see. And then you're going to get them to open up and really start talking about it. You can probably skip the middle part. I would really try to get them to engage, like come up with their own. But if you ask them, what do you think? And it's something that needs to be done, you can probably skip that middle question, the giving them a couple hours to think about it, and go straight to the, okay, let's brainstorm together, right? And you probably know your staff well enough to know which ones you need to brainstorm with and which ones you don't. So just kind of keep that in mind too. So that's pretty much the 3 questions you're going to ask. You're going to start with, well, what do you think we should do? Second, if they are just like, I have no idea, you want to give them some time to think about it, right? And third, you're going to put it back on them and just say, okay, let's brainstorm together, and ask them their opinion on the solutions that they have. After going through this cycle a few times, they will start coming back to you with solutions to their problems. They will start like, okay, you're going to establish and give them the confidence to be able to voice their solutions to you. And next thing you know, not only are they going to come back to you with solutions to their problems, but next thing you know, they're going to start solving problems on their own without you, because you've just empowered them and made them feel like they're competent and like that you trust them. More often than not, people are not solving their own problems because they're afraid of your reaction. It's not that they're not capable. It's not that they don't know how. It's how you've reacted in the past. And that is where we as leaders need to take some responsibility. So we are literally depleting ourselves by having to be everything for everybody all the time, right? We are just exhausting and depleting ourselves. And when we do this, not only are we not serving the people that we love and care about and we're trying to help, but we're actually hurting them, because it makes us just not as pleasant to work with, because then we're exhausted, we're placing blame, we're constantly thinking that they are less than they really are, when it's really us who created the problem in the situation, right? So I really just want to, again, challenge you. What are you afraid is going to happen if you don't solve everybody's problems? What underlying fear do you have? That's really what you need to look at. And I want you to think to yourself, like, what personal failures have you experienced that is causing this fear? That is really where things are coming from here. What personal failures are really making you feel like you have to jump in and rescue everybody all the time? What are you trying to save them from? What are you trying to save your center from? And ask yourself, is this something that it's okay if we take a little hit on this? Like what happened with my director and the licensing, right? It was okay. I mean, there was nothing that was like, just that was huge. It was just little things like somebody forgot to sign a report or something. And is it okay? Can we take that hit? Now, is it not okay where it's like our semi-annual rating, right? Where it's something that's going to be with you for a couple years, our quality stars rating. That's something like, I can't really let that go. But licensing, if I take a couple little dings, it's okay. So just kind of rate that. What are you afraid of? Why are you stepping in and trying to rescue everybody all the time? The other thing I'm going to leave you guys with today is you really have to look within yourselves. I do these mindset trainings every Monday. I started when COVID got really bad last year to just try to get on here, encourage you guys, help you through. And I just kept going because I know what it's like to be an exhausted owner director. I've been there and I know how lonely it is, right? But what I would really encourage you is, most of you who come to me consistently come, and if you listen to my podcast, you watch my videos, you want to grow, right? You're trying to grow, but you're never going to grow if you don't change. If you keep doing what you're doing, if you continue to be where you are, nothing's going to change. You can listen to all the positive things in the world, but if you don't start implementing things into your life, you will never see change. You will never see growth. So what I would really like to encourage you is check out my coaching program where I can really help you to make those changes that will change your center, right? That will change the trajectory of where things are going. So if you're really just unhappy where things are in your life right now, if you're really just unhappy with your center and you just feel like your center's running you, reach out to me. Let's chat about joining my coaching program where I can help you guys. If you're a new owner and you're kind of just scared, you don't know where to go, that's something I really specialize in, is helping owners find that direction. If you feel like your center is failing and it just consumes you, that's something I can really help you with too. So if you really want to change, you got to do the work. If what you're doing now isn't working, then you got to change if you want things to get better. So reach out to me this week. I would love to talk to you guys about my coaching program and how it works and what I can do for you. I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and I hope everybody has a great 2021. Since I haven't really got to be with you guys for 2021, I'm wishing everybody the best. Have a great day, everybody.